the Opopco studios in Oklahoma City, this is an OU update with Ryan Aber. I'm Jenni Carlson. Ryan, a big victory for the Sooner men on Saturday night down in Austin. They'd had a few close games, but not really finished like they finished this one on Saturday. What was the difference in your mind?
Well, I think the difference was that Jordan Woodard just completely took over the game in the last 2 minutes. He hadn't been getting to the rim. He hadn't been getting to the free throw line all game, and that's really where he's had success the last few weeks. Finally got to the line with about 2 minutes left, wound up making, I believe, 6 trips, made 10 of those 12 free throws, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, and you mentioned Woodard and obviously the point guard play. It was a little bit of a committee effort on Saturday night, and important that they got a return by Jelon Hornbeek. Yeah,
and they've been so good at the point guard spot for the last few months. And even when Jelon Hornbeek was out, because Jordan Woodard really hadn't found himself in foul trouble at all, got a couple of fouls in the first 5 minutes the other day, and they had to bring Hornbeek in a little bit earlier than they'd planned, use him a little bit more than they'd planned. But Hornbeek played well at the point when he was there, didn't score any, but was able to get a couple of assists. And Isaiah Cousins really handled the point well as well before he got kicked out with about 2.5 minutes left.
Right. Okay, so considering this Texas win, how does it look sort of as we look ahead? Because obviously the first of Big 12 games on the slate for the Sooners, good to start with a win, but put it in context for us as you look ahead here a little bit.
I think it was important for them to get off to a quick start because their second and third games in the Big 12 are at home, but they're against Kansas and Iowa State, probably the two best teams in the league right now. Kansas is struggling a little bit. But Iowa State is just playing phenomenally. They're undefeated. They're off to their best start in school history. And then you look later in the month, and they've got Baylor and Kansas State, a couple teams that should be tight battles with, and then the Bedlam game. So they really needed to get off to this quick start to feel good about themselves entering this rough stretch.
Lastly, when you think about these games against Kansas and Iowa State this week, what are keys for Oklahoma in those games?
I think a couple of them. The big one is rebounding. They had struggled a little bit the last few games with that, but really put things together against Texas. Were outscored big time in the paint, but had a 11 rebound advantage, even with the big size deficit. And when Ryan Spangler and Cam Clark and those guys are working inside and their guards have been rebounding pretty well, then they're going to have a whole lot better success. Their defense isn't great, but they can make up for it in some of those ways, and they're going to really have to do that against these two teams.
All right, good stuff to watch. Thanks, Ryan. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoma.